This is the Media Police Post, broadcasting from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this show, we police the state of truth in the Republic. And because truth is communicated to us by journalists and analysts, we have made it our civic duty to put it to the test. We advance from two confirmed truths about the media. One, and according to Roger Stone, the media is either lazy or evil, and for the most part, it is both evil and lazy. That is why the truth, their truth, must be put to a test. Two, that journalism is verified gossip. In fact, what is presented to us as news analysis is gossip that has been verified by journalists. This gossip has to be ground truth. We will assess the state of truth in what they submit to the Republic, and will pass verdict on what is true and what is not. For the record, we are not journalists, we are thinkers. We are not lazy or evil, and we do not verify gossip. What we give you is the truth that sets you free. On today's show, we will discuss ideas that reflect unformed and uninformed opinions, and ideas that made you stupid, narratives that fell into the cognitive trap where we see things as we are and not as they are, and narratives based on conjuncture history, and those that smack of envelope journalism. Welcome, CS and Ms. K.
Thank
Asante.
you.
Today, I will call a big Kijiko, and not a Jembe. The Deputy President is suffering from something called pseudologica fantastica. In simple English, Mr. William Ruto is a pathological liar. This is what we mean when we say Mr. Bwana Asifiwe is a high priest of duplicity and prince of doublespeak. It is not normal that someone can lie so often, so easily, and so brazenly while maintaining a straight face. It is not normal for someone to perform such dizzying acrobatics around the truth. And by the way, we have observed that most of the time, Mr. Bwana Asifiwe uses churches as his preferred venue for twisting the truth. Maybe it is because when you say Bwana Asifiwe right before you tell a lie, it increases the believability of what you are saying. Mr. Bwana Asifiwe's latest concoction this weekend was served hot in Mount Kenya when this guy had the audacity to promise the Gema nation that he will give them the good things that were in BBI and that he will do so through Parliament. Wait a minute. You mean there were actually good things in BBI? Maajabu. Mr. Ruto is now telling Kenyans that there are constituencies that are too heavily populated and that there should therefore be additional constituencies, as was proposed in BBI. He's now advocating for proportional representation. Mr. Ruto is now telling Kenyans that there are constituencies that do not get their fair share of resource allocation, just as was proposed in BBI. Mr. Ruto is now telling the youth that they should get a tax holiday in order to help them start businesses. Word for word, copy-paste, straight from BBI. Mr. Ruto is now saying, actually, the BBI is good, it was the referendum that was bad. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a kind of thief who will steal something from you through the back door, then go around the house and knock at your bedroom window to sell it to you. And so that you don't wonder why a stranger is at your window, he will greet you by saying, Bwana Asifiwe. But this script, although brazen and audacious in its plot, is not new. In George Orwell's classic Animal Farm, Orwell depicted key leaders as pigs. An intelligent pig called Snowball drew up elaborate plans to build a windmill. However, a pig called Napoleon despised the plans and peed all over the plans with contempt. But he would later steal those same plans, say they were his, and try to implement them. But he failed at implementing the plans properly and the windmill collapsed. In history, this was witnessed in Bolshevik Russia when Joseph Stalin vehemently opposed the plans proposed by Leon Trotsky, who was pushing for large-scale industrialization. Stalin opposed the plans, but after engineering Trotsky's exile, he stole Trotsky's plan but made a mess of implementing them.
Yeah.
This is the script Ruto is using. He's also copy-pasting from communist dictators of the industrial age. Maybe that is why his party symbol is also a wheelbarrow from the industrial age. It was communists who used rudimentary tools and farm implements as party symbols. But as he continues to copy-paste from communist dictators, increasingly, Ruto is also being exposed. This weekend, Mheshimiwa Junet Mohammed was quoted saying, "We have all watched Ruto dance and picked up his dance moves and dishonest promises and narratives over the last 9 years. We are in the process of exposing his lies and dismantling each one of them."
Yeah.
I agree with Junaid Mohammed, because it is dizzying to fathom that the same man who declared BBI to be the greatest fraud less than a month ago is now milking campaign promises from the same document. 1 minute you tell us that BBI is just about positions for a few leaders, and you tell us that it was God who made it fail. Now you're using what you told Kenyans to reject to negotiate your way to the presidency.
King of duplicity.
King of duplicity.
So this past Sunday in The Nation, Peter Kagwanja, a chief executive at the Africa Policy Institute, unraveled the electability myths fueling Mount Kenya succession politics. He told us that there were 3 electability myths driving the region's politics. First thesis or myth is that Raila Odinga is unelectable in the Mount Kenya region. Partly, he says, due to his circumcision status that has for long been held as a determining factor for electability. This despite an alliance between Mount Kenya and Nyanza clinching victory in the 1963 polls that then propelled Jomo Kenyatta to power as Kenya's first president. And then Kagwanja reminds us that after 2002, Raila won the hearts of Mount Kenya for supporting Kibaki. He was hailed across the region as Mutogoria Jaba, the supreme leader. And I can see signs of the return of Raila as Gema's favorite Mudhaniwa. The second myth is on Ruto's electability, which suggests that he is electable across the country without the support of any ethnic baron or kingpin. Kagwanja debunks that Ruto is the most electable candidate in Mount Kenya region and therefore the man to beat. The third myth holds that a candidate from Mount Kenya is not electable because the populous region has produced 3 out of Kenya's 4 presidents. And he tells us that the perceived absence of a formidable Mount Kenya presidential candidate has fueled a fierce scramble for the region. Now, I was drawn to this third hypothesis, this myth, because it has become almost unsavory to propose that there could be another president from the mountain. But if indeed the Gama voting bloc has king-making abilities, why not be king? Why are they suddenly being so shy and polite? The term majoritarianism came to mind, the idea that the numerical majority of a population should have the final say in determining the outcome of a decision. Now, some would argue that this would cause the tyranny of the majority, but it can also be argued that any individual or group less than the majority is also very capable of tyranny. So in the end, a country's basic political institutions need to be tailored to its particular conditions and history. The courts recently rejected the political compromise that BBI was going to bring about. So now we must put this big ethnic fish on the table. Will Mount Kenya perceive that they are in actually a position of strength and act on it? Or will they continue to put out false signals that their value is in decline? Just a thought.
Very good thought there. This week, to my own surprise, I quite enjoyed the piece on Sunday by Makau Mutua in the Daily Nation. It was titled, "Is Uhuru or Ruto in charge?" I did not, however, like the title. Anyway, in his article, Professor Mutua asks 3 questions. Who controls the bigger chunk of the state? Is it William Ruto or Uhuru Kenyatta? And more importantly for him, who controls the more lethal chunk of the state? Professor Mutua states, and I agree with him, that the state is a creature of violence with which it is maintained.
Yeah.
That is why the person who wields its lethality is the most important matter. There simply cannot be 2 centers of power. But contrary to Professor Mutua's claim that we are undergoing some sort of existential threat where the state is dangerously divided against itself, there aren't 2 centers of power in Kenya at the moment. There is one center, and it is securely grounded around Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the president and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, which is the lethal part of the state. William Ruto is the principal assistant to the president.
Yeah.
And on this point, Professor Mutua rightly quotes American Vice President Herbert Humphrey, who once said, "Anyone who thinks that the vice president can take a position independent of the president of his administration simply has no knowledge of the politics of government. You are his choice in a political marriage, and he expects absolute loyalty. Now, William Ruto must therefore shape up or ship out. And Professor Mutua asks one final question. What do you do with a deadbeat employee who draws a huge salary, enjoys massive state resources from taxpayers' coffers, publicly ridicules you, doesn't do any work related to his official duties, shamelessly promotes himself 24/7, and refuses to resign in public shame? Even though Professor Mutua's question is presumably a rhetorical one, I will hazard a response. What do you do with the deadbeat? You let him think he is winning, but force him into a position that you want. Now, this is what Edward Lasker, a German engineer, did when he played a famous chess game against George Allen Thomas in 1912. This famous game is called the King Hunt, and I'll say here that I do not play chess, and I'm just repeating. Disclaimer. The game was 18 moves long, but it was famous because Lasker sacrificed his queen early in the game. It was a great sacrifice, and it lulled Sir Thomas into moving his king. Lasker formed Sir Thomas to move his king, the black king, all across the board into the white pieces before being checkmated. Lasker could have ended the game earlier, and he did not need to isolate the black king, but the long hunt was more elegant and memorable. And that is what the president is doing with Ruto. The president is systematically forcing Ruto to make moves that will make Ruto resign. Just like in the chess game, the president could have dealt with Ruto earlier. But this long hunt is more elegant and memorable.
Cool and memorable it will be with 330 something days to go, maybe?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us on the Media Police Post. We are putting you on notice. See you next Monday.